Hopefully that'll work. Uh, Usually what I do is one other person came in. I start with my disclaimer, which means that the views that I express here are my own, kind of a legalese. This is the agenda for tonight. I'm going to talk about the sewer treatment plant plans and rate increase. I have some questions that I lined up about the 2025 budget, which has not yet been made public. I'm going to talk about the crosswalk and sidewalk improvements that have been or will be approved. There's a lot of concern about pedestrian safety, and some residents have been making comments that I'd like to share. I'm going to talk about the fire and emergency ambulance services tax millage survey. We'll get into that. Then I can introduce the main roads that are going to be repaired or in 2025. And that should take hopefully 15 minutes or so. Everybody that I've spoken to is very concerned about the sewage treatment plant rate increase. So I made a survey, and many of you probably know that the Newtown Bucks County Joint Municipal Authority, known as the Newtown Sewer Authority, announced a 43% rate increase that will begin in January, and it may be even more for other people, for some people. This is on top of a 21% increase in 2022. And you can see on this slide where the proposed treatment plant is going to be located. Now, the rate increase has to do not specifically with this treatment plant, which could cost up to $150 million. To get funding for that, they may increase rates again, or they may need to have a bond borrow money. So in this survey, I asked people's opinion of the sewage treatment plant and the rate increase. And I have about 41, 42 respondents so far. 90% come from Newtown Township. And 73%, one of the choices I had is, you'll see, is it criminal the way they're increasing the rates? And that's because somebody actually sent me a comment and said they thought this was criminal. So I just took it upon myself to use that terminology. There are a number of problems with this, but let's look at some of the data. Um, Obviously, people were concerned with a number of issues with the treatment plant, let alone the rate increase. Some of the people were concerned about the odor, but um, we've been assured in the past when the sewer authority made a presentation before the Newtown Board of Supervisors that they're using new technology, that this would be practically odor-free, according to them. The location is perhaps an issue. It's actually borders on the bypass, and it's in, as you saw on the previous slide, near a flood zone. I'll just show you here with the Core Creek. So some people are concerned about the environmental problems, but a lot of people are concerned about the cost of this project, which I mentioned is going to require maybe more rate increases and a bond to borrow money. There were several comments. I don't want to read them all. What I'll do after this is uh, send out links to this presentation where you can read a number of comments. And if you haven't taken the survey, I urge you to do that and let me know your opinion. Some of the details, some of the questions I asked the agency, the authority, was, is there any kind of regulatory agency that oversees rate increases? And they said no. Um, with regard to the bond issue to borrow $150 million, which they have to pay back somehow, I asked if this bond issue was subject to a vote by residents, and they said no. So I'm a little concerned that the residents have no say uh, in this rate increase, and I don't know if that's a really good idea. But now moving on to the um, taxes, let's say. I'm just putting up here some information about the current tax rate, which is expressed in millage numbers. And you can see Newtown is competitive with other townships in terms of its millage. It's 13.115, um, which means the average homeowner, it's been calculated, we have to pay, the average pays about $12 per year in municipal taxes. Um, and also in this table, whoops, sorry. Also in this table is um, how this millage is divided. There's a general fund, but there's a fire protection fund, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that later. Rescue squad fund, fire hydrant, and debt services, which means the township borrows money and uses certain taxes to pay off loans. So that's what that's for. But now let's get into a little bit about the budget. And basically, as I said, this is not yet been publicly um, released. In fact, on Wednesday, the supervisors may vote to what they call hang the budget or advertise the budget and make it available to the public. But I have some questions I can share with you. Um, One of the original idea was to make this budget public at the November 13th meeting. Uh, I don't know, is it too soon for it to be made public on this coming Wednesday? And the main problem is that once you make it public, I don't know if it's a problem or not, you cannot change a lot of it in terms of, uh, for example, taxation increasing, um, things like that. Um, but you can certainly decrease expenditures. So my opinion right now is I think it's better to make it public as soon as possible. So we'll see what that is. One of the criticisms I have is that the format is hard to follow and to compare with previous budgets. There's some new software that was used to create this, and it's just very frustrating when you can't compare one with the other. One of the issues I have are some high salary increases, especially in the management area. which could range from 9% to 16%. And I show on the right side of this what the inflation has been over the last few years. I also show, in terms of percentage, where the expenses are more or less with the budget, and you can see where money is being spent. Um, so one of the questions I had is should there be uh, a cap on salaries? I don't think there's much I can really do about that. It's salaries are competitive with other townships, so we'll have to see how that goes. And one of the things that we were informed about is at the last meeting of the supervisors was there was requests for new employees by managers that were denied so that uh, there's no funds available to pay for new employees. For example, the Public Works Department suggested they need to hire five more employees. And right now, that's not going to be part of the budget. Um, Here's some numbers related to deficit spending. I think what you can see here is a trend that the actual these gray bars are what the balances were in the budget, um, and actual versus projected. And in 2025, 2024, you can see we're into deficit territory. So um, this is going to probably continue to 2025. And the township manager has already stated that this means we're probably going to need to raise taxes sooner rather than later, but at least in next year. Um, there are some of the other sources of income, like earned income tax, are trending downward. And so there needs to be some way of improving revenue, hopefully without raising taxes. I'm not quite sure where that would be, but we might have to look more at getting grants to cover projects. Um, but we also need maybe to cut expenses. And one of the things I've always been complaining about is we have an outside agency that provides zoning officer services, and we're spending upwards of over $300,000 a year for something that, I think one employee or two making 75,000 a year could probably handle. And, you know, this must be some way to cut down on that expense, but I haven't looked at all the expenses, but hopefully we'll get a better look at that when the budget is made public. Crosswalks and sidewalk improvements. The crosswalks are located, there are two different crosswalks where we're going to be doing improvements. One is at Silo Drive and North Sycamore Street. Uh, we've already received bids for that and awarded the bid. And after a discussion, uh, there's certain things we want to do to add on basically what I call these decorative poles, which make it more uh, compatible with what's already in the township. And they're more antique look. And so that added some cost to it, like $42,000. So when all this is considered, the engineer told us it would, the projected cost is around 384,000, and we have 377,000. So there's really not much more money needed to get what a lot of residents really wanted, especially along uh, Newtown Yardley Road and Tara Boulevard. Sidewalks, this is going to come up in Wednesday's meeting, mostly in the business commons. Uh, we, no bids were received. We had a grant of about $183,000 for this project. And we got a low bid of 489,000. So we're going to award that low bid, but we may be able to do some additional sidewalks, especially along Newtown Yardley Road. Residents along there at that intersection thought there could be some improvement there. Moving on, there are other crosswalks that may be unsafe. And some time ago, a Middletown resident who may be in on this meeting, I'm not sure. She noted at this intersection at Summer Square Shopping Center and the bypass on the right side here, whoops. On the right side here is Newtown Township. Over here is the Summit Shopping Center in Middletown. So this requires some kind of cooperation to make this safer. She suggested there needs to be some kind of traffic study. Uh, the supervisors said we'd look into it, but I haven't heard anything since then. And recently, another resident, Mr. Norm Seeger, who might also be on this call, um, brought our attention to crosswalks along Upper Silver Lake Road that are not marked. And he feels that the traffic is speeding up there, and he suggested a few ways to improve that. Um, and I'm sure this is going to be something we're going to have to take a look at in the future. Now on to that fire and emergency medical services tax millage increase. There's another survey I've done. If you're interested, I'll get you the link. But one of the things we're going to be voting on in this upcoming meeting on Wednesday, there's been a new law, I guess, passed that it says that second-class townships like Newtown could uh, can levy up to 10 mills dedicated to the fire department needs of personnel and equipment. Currently, Newtown charges 4 mills, has a 4 mil dedicated tax to the fire department. We do not yet have a 24/7 paid fire department. We have only during regular business hours, 7 days a week, and the rest has to be handled by volunteers and by adjacent fire companies if there's a fire after 5 p.m. or 7 p.m. or whatever it is. There's a real need, I think people have expressed to have a 24/7 fire department. Eventually, something needs to be done, but to raise this tax, um, it seems we need some kind of ordinance that allows us to go up to 10 and for the fire department and up to 5 for emergency medical services. There were some comments from people saying, well, why do we need to do this now? You can always do it whenever you're ready to raise the taxes, pass an ordinance to do that. I don't know, it's legal. You can raise that amount of money. I don't know if we're going to do it, but a lot of people don't feel it's are right. As you can see, 55% do not agree with doing this. And I think it's the maybe it depends is an important way to look at it. But definitely going to need money for some of these services. Um, how much? Well, that's what I asked in the next question. Um, should there be no increase, like in the fire tax or the EMS tax? Obviously, a lot of people feel there should be no increase. Well, some people feel, well, maybe 1 or 2 mils is okay. So, that remains to be seen exactly how this will play out. Next slide is about the road work. There's going to be more roads done this year than last year. Last year, there was only like 1.9 miles of roads repaired. This coming year, it's going to be more like 4.5 or 5, hopefully. And what I'm showing here is some of the is the major is the base bid. When things go out for bidding, there's what's called a base bid and alternative bid. The base bid roads will definitely be paved, but there'll be extra money that may be available, and then that comes into the alternate roads. So I just have these maps up here to show you where these roads are located. Uh, Here's more of the roads, but what I'll do when I send this out, I'll have a real complete list of the roads so that you can see what's also the alternate bid roads, which may or may not get paved if there's enough money and the bids come in low enough. Finally, I just wanted to notify people about the upcoming meeting on Wednesday. One of the more interesting and important things is that we're going to recognize the Council Rock North Athletic Association Little League 2024 World Series team. Um, Many of you know that they've reached the finals, but obviously they didn't win the World Series. But we wanted to recognize the fact that they reached the finals and that we would uh, have a special ceremony with each member of the team getting a nice plaque with their name on it. And, generally, they've received a lot of awards. So it's just appropriate that the township also recognize their achievement. The LIOLI ordinance amendment, this is just a little bit amendment whereby it gives the Board of Supervisors more authority to approve or not approve um, apartment buildings to be built in the area near the business commons, basically, um, which was an ordinance that was recently uh, enacted. This is an amendment to just change it so that the Board of Supervisors, they, developers would have to come before the Board of Supervisors to get approval for what they want to do, which gives us more control over it. The sidewalk project I mentioned, we're going to award the contract. Uh, the fire department wants 2 new fire engines, and we're going to have a vote to approve the purchase of these for nearly $3 million. This is over. It takes about 48 months to get this kind of equipment. And so I don't think we're going to spend all that money at once, but again, this is something that has been needed for a while. And we'll see how that goes. The final thing is to discuss some more the 2025 budget and possibly vote to advertise it. So that's it for my presentation. And like I said, I would, send out this presentation with all the notes and everything, or link to it, so that you can get all the details. Now, I can open it up for discussion, and if you want